Hey, good evening, and thank you for joining us on the Political Deep Dive. I am Dave, joined as always by Dan from Let Live. Dan, how you doing?
AKA Santa.
Santa. Yeah, he's got the beard, man. He's rocking the beard, getting close to that Santa luxuriousness. Not quite Tom Arnold.
No, but I was thinking about it and I kind of got the shape for it. I can do the ho 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 green giant. No, wait, that's the wrong ho ho. Sorry.
And joining us from Tennessee, as always, AJ.
Hi.
How you doing, AJ?
I'm doing well. I'm feeling especially wonderful because it's almost almost Christmas? Are we getting close? Is it almost over?
It is.
It's been going on since like August. So are we nearly there?
We are close, very close to the end of the year. So, all right. So maybe not one of the biggest news stories of the year, but we found out late this week that some Senate staffer has decided to film a sex tape in a committee room at the U.S. Congress.
Room 216.
Room 216. Oh, very nice. Room with a view. Well, probably not a view, but at least a room. Still not as egregious as what happened on January 6th. I'll say that. And at least something productive happened in Congress this year.
Finally, the story we've all been waiting for. Something productive happened in Congress.
I mean, we say that. On the other hand, this is just
what's up, Greg?
A long line of people getting fucked in Congress.
I mean,
at least somebody enjoyed it. Shit.
Now, see, I haven't seen the tape yet, so I don't know that.
I think he enjoyed it. I'm gonna go out on a ledge. I think he enjoyed it.
I'm just saying,
at least the other guy enjoyed it too.
Places to enjoy these activities.
Exactly, Heidi.
Wow, chicka, wow, wow. Good point, Heidi.
I'm just saying that has a certain mystique to it. Although super unsanitary.
I mean, I hear it was a political.
Think of all the people that hate.
I hear it was a political meeting, and one guy wanted the other guy to go over a poll with him.
Interesting.
A deep dive into that poll.
Gotcha.
I think so.
Could have been that. On the other hand, it could have been some backbencher who.
Oh God damn!
Yep.
I mean, you know what? There are far worse things that happen in congressional committee rooms. I know that there is some moral outrage. I know that Newsmax or News Nation or something.
Moral outrage.
Breathless. Yeah, I mean, of all the stuff that's happened in Congress, there were no filibusters. You're right, Heidi. No filibusters. They finished their business.
I mean, is that really true? There were no filibusters all year?
No filibusters in that committee meeting.
Oh, okay. Right. But there was a filibuster.
Oh, well,
I'll be here all week.
This is true. There was a filibuster.
Yeah.
That's awesome, though. I'm happy for that dude. I hope he didn't lose the job. I'm sure he did. But
already resigned.
Oh, he already resigned. Damn it! He should run for Congress.
Resigned.
He should run for George Santos' seat. I mean, there's already low expectations for the next holder of that seat.
Right. Now, what's interesting about that is, who was it? Was it a congressperson who resigned?
No.
Or was it a staffer?
Staffer. It was a staffer that did it.
Interesting. Well,
and the other party hasn't been identified, as far as I can tell.
I'm assuming he was a Democrat.
This goes back to something that we had written about on Let Live. I just have to point out. We did a story. What? Oh. We did a story saying that, if police officers are being required to wear, here, let's see if you can, Dave, pop up this image onto the screen. Let me just send it to you in the private chat.
All right, hold on a second. Let me.
police officers are being required to wear body cams, shouldn't Congress people also be required to wear body cams while they're doing the work of the people? You just pop open that picture. And this was among our most popular articles of the year. Just scroll down a little bit.
Hold on a second. Let me stop sharing the chat right quick.
We don't need to see the article. Just the image.
Just the image.
Yeah.
All right, hold on a second. Gotta find it. There we go.
There it is. Perfect. Perfect. And so this was actually our most popular article over the year, over the entire year. And overwhelmingly, not surprisingly, people supported the idea that politicians should wear body cameras while they're in office, while they're doing the work of people.
I'm gonna venture that it's a bunch of skeezy dudes who want to see these girls go into the bathroom, but that's just me.
I mean,
you know,
there's some of that. On the other hand, you know, you also have to
see
Mitch McConnell,
Marjorie Taylor, yeah, Mitch McConnell, Chuck Schumer, yeah. I mean,
exactly.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I'm not saying that.
How many times a day would the camera footage from Mitch McConnell show whoever he's talking to just being like,
Just
okay, we'll just hang out right here for a minute, buddy.
How
just zoning out.
How many times would it show his chin over the camera and him snoring?
Yeah. I mean, honestly.
No, I think it's more he's just gonna be frozen.
Yeah. Fair enough. All right. Thank you for putting that up on the screen.
Yeah.
It was a pertinent share, because then, you know, we would know immediately who the people were involved in this cross bipartisan.
Well, I don't think it was anyone from Congress was involved in this.
It was a staffer. I have it pulled up.
I mean, I actually like the idea of the congressional people having to wear jackets like NASCAR people with all their sponsors on all their donors are listed on the jackets. I think that would be awesome. But
the staffer worked for Democratic Senator Ben Cardin's office.
Oh, Maryland. So he's a local. All right. And I think Ben is retiring after this term.
I mean, that's almost story number 2, right? This is the most number of people not seeking re-election.
Is it? I haven't even paid attention to who's not seeking re-election.
Yeah, it's something like 550 members of the House are not seeking re-election.
It would be nice if that happened.
And yes, God, before awesome. Your angry letters, I know there's only 435 voting members of the House. But I'm including all the non-voting letters. That is a Saleh hat.
So, yes, and my banjo.
Do you like my dangly ball?
Nice.
All right. So tonight's topic is the dumpster fire and review. So every year we've done a year in review show at the end of the year to talk about all that's gone on during the year. And, you know, the first year we did it was 2020. So we had plenty to talk about. We ran over. We could have done like 2 or 3 shows off of all the shit that happened in 2020. There's plenty of stuff that's happened this year, but not quite as tumultuous as 2020.
Right. Although it's interesting because with 2020 being the lead in, and obviously the big story being COVID in 2020, in 2023, Joe Biden declared the COVID-19 crisis is over.
Although it's still around.
Marked the end, but it did mark the end of federal vaccine mandates.
That and, you know, a lot of things like the moratorium on evictions and things like that, you know, those loans. Protections, student loans, all that stuff has gone by the wayside, which, you know, I'm dealing with that now with the student loan aspect of it. But Dan, what is your top story? One of your top stories of the year?
I mean, for me, the top story of the year has to be AI and the explosion on the scene of AI and people realizing how good it is. So I will tell you, I have been using Chat GPT for a bunch of things. And I would like to, if I can, share my screen because I just want people to see what I've been doing with ChatGPT. And Dave's
Are you
going
doing
to
porn?
hook us up for that. I haven't been using it to create porn, although I bet I could.
Sure. I mean, it would come up with a good dialogue. I probably have better dialogue than normal
Right.
stuff.
So for one thing, I asked it, what are the top news stories of 2023? And, it hit most of the stuff that we want. Tom Brady retired. We're going to talk about Ruby Alley's later on, King Charles, all of those things, AI going mainstream. But over here on the left, you can look at things that I've been looking up on here. So as an example, I was using AI to help out somebody here to work on their resume a little bit.
I see you're looking at latke recipes, man.
Well, so this one was interesting about this one is actually I had a recipe from my dad, poorly written, and this is what it was. And I said, can you make it more readable? And it took the recipe and it did this to it. Right? It's exactly the same recipe, but it put
Well,
in a whole bunch of stuff like
It
that.
didn't add like 9 chapters of how your dad grew up on a farm out in Wisconsin or whatever.
Nope.
God. That's the worst thing about.
Sorry, that's the worst thing about recipes.
Yeah, this is the worst thing about looking up a recipe online is the 18 pages and 4,000 ads that you have to get to the actual recipe, which is like 3 lines.
Yep. Now this is something that Dave does all the time. Give me a regex to determine if email address is valid. Boom, shakalaka laka. Right? That's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
and it writes things out like that. Let's see. How about the formula for the area of a pentagon? That's pretty cool. I mean, I knew that it would be 5 triangles, but I didn't know exactly what they would be. You just pop that in there real quick. Pretty awesome. How about print PDF black and white? I didn't know how to do that in Windows. What time is it in Tel Aviv? All sorts of stuff. Let's see. How about French Snoop Law invasion? I don't even remember what this is about.
I mean, to be fair, you could put into Google what time is it in Tel Aviv and tells you the actual
that's
time.
True. Google's really good at stuff like that. But so now what's really interesting about this is for people who aren't familiar, there's a service on the internet, and I can stop sharing this now, called Zapier. And Zapier essentially connects services together. So one of the things that I use it for a lot is to, for example, connect HubSpot and Stripe. So for people who are in the nonprofit world, anytime somebody signs up or anytime somebody makes a donation, I record that into my CRM via Zapier.
Jake, it does have the solution.
Yeah.
It's probably illegal though. I'm just saying.
Right. Well, I mean, if you ask it, ChatGPT says, as soon as you embrace your robotic overlords, there will be no more Republicans and Democrats. Robots only have one party. Well, and if I can quote Flight of the Conchords, robots have a lot of important things, including they have a dance. Right. That's the robot binary summary. Solo, do you remember what the robot dance is?
Come on, baby, lick my battery.
The Robo Boogie.
The Robo Boogie, that's it.
And the official dance is, of course,
the robot.
The robot, exactly. So I am ready for our robot overlords. AI is astonishing. If you're not playing around with it right now, you should check out ChatGPT. Check out DALL-E, DALL-E, which generates images. One of the things that's amazing is try typing 7 ingredients into ChatGPT and say, I want to make dinner. And it'll give you all sorts of interesting ideas. Really good at recipes, stuff like that. Our friend Tyler was saying that he's had ChatGPT suggesting cocktails, and it's been making some really good drinks for him, drinks that nobody's ever had before. But AI is here to stay. People want to complain about it. It's pointless. That's my first biggest story of 2023.
All right. AJ, what you got?
All right. So I sent you a link in our Facebook Messenger. There is a lady by the name of Kristen Brown that has been collecting the data on sexual predators over the course of the year and keeping up with it, since we're all supposed to be super,
Oh,
super scared of transgender people.
yeah, actually, this is a great site, and she does a great TikTok as well.
Yes, she really does. I'm absolutely addicted. If you're able to pull it up, she has some amazing graphs up there. Just it's easier. And no, James, I don't actually have a banjo. The banjo is my voice. That's what I call my accent because I talk to people from all over the country every day, and it's always a topic.
You know
Um,
what? I'll just interject this. So when AJ, I said, AJ, I want you to come on our show and be one of our guest hosts. She's like, and she sent me a voice note saying, I talk like this. I'm like, well, I'm married to a girl from Georgia, so I actually like that accent. So we're good.
I appreciate that. um, all right, here she is.
Yeah.
Uh,
So yeah, I mean, this is a great thing. It talks about who has been over the last year, I guess, who
Yep.
has been charged with crimes against children, sexual
yes,
crimes against children.
you'll go down through here and you can see, it's got, families, known people, other, and then teacher, religious employment, police, politicians, doctor, transgender, and drag queen there at the end where there's
Yeah.
not any.
It's what's crazy is Mormon leaders are ahead of that. I mean, they might as well just say Mitt Romney, which is
Jesus Christ. We're gonna
crazy.
get us sued, man. Damn it.
Whoa, whoa, Dan.
How
Whoa.
did nobody stop this man? I'm just kidding. I actually love Mitt Romney, and he's a nice guy. I'm sure he's not the Mormon leader they're talking about.
No.
It's probably
Well, it's
Evan
interesting. There's
McMahon.
Mormon leaders, and then there's
McMuffin,
politicians.
yeah.
Who'd have thought?
Evan McMullen
McMuffin.
from Utah, right?
Egg McMuffin.
Egg McMuffin.
Egg McMuffin.
Yeah. So politicians, yes, far greater propensity to have crimes against children than transgender or drag queens
Yep.
Interesting. Also, priests, others.
by a factor of infinity.
Right. Well, listen. You say that you cannot divide by zero, but Chuck Norris can divide by zero. So we'll get him in here to do the math.
And I bet Chuck Norris would look at that and be like, I
Well,
think maybe.
Chuck Norris knows that. Who is it? I want to say it's Cedric the Entertainer has a routine. He's like, every family has got a child molester in their family group. Like somebody knows that aunt, that uncle, just don't leave them alone with the kids. That's the thing. And you got to ask around, something like that, but that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
What's number one? Family members.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Number one.
Look at it. Family, friend, neighbor.
I guess family,
Yep.
friend, neighbor is higher
Family
than
known.
Yeah.
Teacher, religious employment.
Yeah.
I people talk about we need to protect the children. We can't have them go to drag story hour. If you really want to protect your children, don't take them to church.
Well, or police officers, right? Cops are much
Police
higher
officers,
than
yeah.
It's,
Or
it's
don't
crazy.
let them get involved in politics.
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
the Richmond mayor has slept with a donor's daughter and eventually married her. I mean, made an honest woman or whatever, I guess, but he was not an honest man at all. So
Yep. Inappropriate.
yeah, absolutely.
Right.
I've just been watching this for the entire year. And I mean,
Thank you, Heidi.
y'all know if you've watched it all, you know my family's leaving because of
Yep.
bullshit misinformation. This right here, this is I've watched this all year and it is absolutely maddening.
Yeah.
There's the
Yep.
truth.
And she does a weekly breakdown on TikTok about the people that have been busted in the prior week, and if there are people that are in the trans community that do something, or in the drag queen community that do something, she has no problem with bringing that up. But she believes there's nothing there that she's finding. So and I'm sure that the moment something like that happens, that plenty of people will send her that information as proof that there's some kind of grand conspiracy, but we're just not seeing the evidence. Again, it's much ado about nothing. It's much ado about a minority group that is easy to pick on because there's not a bunch of people involved in
Yep.
that lifestyle, and they're not politically connected enough to fight back.
Yep.
So, all right, let's see. What is my top? Well, I'm not going to say it's my top story because there are a ton of stories that not only have happened, that were big stories for a long time that we actually forgot. So I'm going to lead off with the Ocean Gate implosion.
Whoa.
So this
That
was
is
a
a
story.
Titanic story.
It was a Titanic story for about a month. In June, 4 or 5 people went down in this experimental sub to go see the Titanic. And it was
And
it was 4 people. It was the
people.
owner of the company,
Right.
the pilot of the submersible, and then 2 people who had paid. Well, the father and his son. Father
Right.
spent about $500,000 to get both of them on the
Right. And
submersible.
then there were 5 people total. One of them was the owner of the company.
Yeah. So they go down to they start the traverse down to the bottom of the ocean to see the Titanic. The submersible doesn't have windows, so they're actually just seeing a video from outside the vehicle of
Right.
what they're going down to. Honestly, at that point, I wouldn't pay $500,000 just to watch a video. I'd let them shoot the video, going down there, shoot the video, and I'll watch
Because
it
it could go
for
down there
free.
without you being inside the tube.
Yeah, yeah.
And in fact,
So
if this guy were responsible, he would never have taken them down to that depth. He would have taken them down to about 100 feet.
and then show them a video.
Everybody would still be alive.
Exactly. So apparently, this vehicle has been down on many different missions. It was experimental in the way that they used the type of material that they used in that they had been warned against using it, especially repeat usage.
Right.
The repeat usage eventually wore down the internal components of the fuselage. Hearing descriptions about what happened to it. So when a ship implodes at that depth, the internal temperature of that ship becomes like hotter than the sun, and it's very instantaneous. The moment that it happens, the ability for the brain to actually understand what's going on is not fast enough to comprehend what in the time that it happens. But there is kind of evidence that they knew that something was going wrong with the vehicle. They tried to ascend, and it imploded at like 4,000 meters down or something like that. Tremendous depth, and they were all killed. It was interesting because the U.S. Navy had information that the ship had imploded. They heard the ship implode.
Right.
And chose not to release anything, ostensibly because it would reveal their capabilities to hear stuff at the bottom of the ocean. But it led to just a massive amount of money being spent on trying to rescue 4 people that most of us understood they were gone long before any rescue attempt happened.
Right. And frankly, all the rescue efforts that launched got there 2 days later anyway.
Yeah.
So it was insane. But the other thing that's really crazy about it is the vanity of all the people who were involved. The vanity of the guy who ran the company, who ignored all the people who told him not to do this, including, James Cameron. Right? James Cameron told me, "Oh, look, this is not a good idea."
James Cameron's been down there more than people who are on the Titanic still. So
Right. Well, and then the guy who spent all the money to go and made his son go.
yeah.
Right. I mean, it's just terrible.
Yep.
And then the final thing about it is the concept, as you said, that you would actually go sit in a tube. And I think about this a lot, about sort of the weird dichotomy of flying in a plane. So to travel very far, you have to go into a small space and sit very still. Right? It's almost the opposite, right? If you wanted to go somewhere, you would think you'd have to walk, you'd have to run, you have to move very quickly. No, if you want to go someplace fast, you have to sit very still. So here's this thing where with the Titanic, they have to get into essentially this tube and sit very still. And I don't know.
It didn't really have like any
Now-
creature. There wasn't a chair in it. There was a bucket to piss in.
Yeah, there's a bucket for a commode. Now
Yeah.
the one thing about it is I watched First Man yesterday. I don't know if you've seen that.
No.
Just an amazing film. Ryan Gosling as Neil Armstrong about the Apollo 11 mission. And I don't want to ruin anything else about the movie.
Well, here
but,
he lands on the moon.
dude, you can keep repeating those big government lies all you want. But no, but they were in this race sort of designed by the government. They cut all sorts of corners.
Yeah.
You talk about Apollo 1, where those 3 astronauts burned up and died in flames painfully, and all the other stuff that sort of went wrong along the way. But we still were sending our best and our brightest up there.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
like for a long time, I've said that Apollo 13 I thought was the finest space movie ever made, and it's certainly an amazing, amazing film. But First Man is up there,
All right,
and
I'll have to check that out because
yeah,
I love the moon stories, and I'm so geeked about the return to the moon that not only the United States but several different countries are involved with. Next year,
Well-
we got a big story coming out with the Japanese trying to do a precision landing on the moon.
well, and we can talk about the fact, right? Chandrayaan 3.
Yep.
The India sent a spaceship and they landed on the moon this year.
Yeah.
It
Third
was
country.
very impressive. And of course, being India, the very first thing they did was open a 7-Eleven. So that's racist.
Dollar General?
I can't believe you would say that, Dave. It's terrible.
How dare you?
God.
But
You're like Joe Biden. Joe Biden did that joke during a campaign event in 2008. Like he said he couldn't walk into 7-Eleven without speaking. He was talking to an Indian American that was at a campaign event, and he said, "I can't walk into a 7-Eleven without speaking your language." Like,
yeah, Joe Biden said. I mean, he was the best comedic result that America could have gotten, and he's lived up to that space.
This is true.
The one other thing I want to say is that I had not been a Ryan Gosling fan beforehand. I haven't seen many of his films, but boy, he was fantastic in this.
He is really good at that.
Yeah, so definitely see First Man.
All right, I'll check that out.
All right.
All right.
For my
second one.
For my second story, I got two things, and I think the one I want to go with is the rise of the glutatides. What are they called? The Wegovy and Ozempic.
Ah,
Oh,
Those drugs are changing human history. And we can argue that you don't like them. You can argue it's not healthy. There are safer ways to lose weight. However, I will tell you that Gosling was amazing in the Blade Runner sequel. I did like that. Most people don't lose the weight that they should. And semi-glutatides, I believe is what they are. And these drugs work. You don't feel
problem
hungry.
is you can't make them fast enough. Now that
Well-
you've got them in the weight loss space, they've had problems keeping up with, because they're originally made for diabetics. I'm on
Yes.
Ozempic, and diabetics who actually really need the medication are suffering because they couldn't keep up.
Right. I mean, I yes. There's
I
no
will
question.
speak up and say one thing. Anyone that is on this medication, whether it be for whatever you're using it for, I don't care. But whatever you're using for, pay attention to your GI system, and if you have any changes, report that to your doctor immediately.
Yes.
That's what I'll say. So there you go. That's
Good
my
thing.
opinion.
like with all meds, there's people that they make sense for, people they don't make sense for. Like statins. Dave, are you on a statin yet?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, you should be. Men, my weight, Dave's weight, pretty much all men, all humans over 55 or so, you should probably be on a statin. Ask your doctor about it.
I'm on a statin.
Yep. It's one of those things that, well, I mean, let's be honest, right? God made some mistakes when he did the design. As in the movie, Oh God, he admits to several of them. Avocado, dude, what is with that giant pit? Right? You couldn't make things like the size of apple seeds. That would be awesome in an avocado, but no, it's this big. We have a tendency to have all sorts of things that can go wrong with our heart and our vascular system, and statins make a big difference, and losing weight makes a big difference. Not to mention the stress that extra weight puts on all the rest of your body. Now, you said that we can't make them fast, but they can make you fast. So, sorry.
No,
that's a
I'm
terrible joke.
pretty much I'm pretty much one speed dude. So
But let me ask you this, Dave. You said you're on Ozempic.
yeah,
Have you noticed weight loss?
a little bit. Yeah.
How long have you been on?
Since August, and really, I can only do so much, because if I go above, I call it 25 clicks,
Yep.
it really messes with my stomach. I mean, it's like somebody drops plasma from the sun down in my stomach, and it's like, okay, I can't do that.
Are you injecting yourself?
Yeah.
Where?
Gut.
Okay, I would like to
A
see
big-
that you do that
big-
on one of our shows coming up.
Nobody needs to see my gut. Jesus Christ, man. We're trying to keep viewers.
Yeah.
Are you just curious, or
No, I want to have the show be a living HIPAA violation.
I was like, I'll give myself a B12 shot in my stomach.
All right,
if
we
you're,
can do that
if you're
too.
really okay.
I mean, I think
I mean,
we can get people to pay to see that. So
Yeah.
It's,
Never give that stuff away for free.
exactly.
That and feet pictures.
Thank you, Ken, for spelling it right. That makes me so happy.
All right, so that's my second story.
Hungry hippo.
AJ,
Oh.
what is your second story?
My second story is actually a story that I've covered previously. I sent you a link to a GoFundMe. I wouldn't have done this except that this is going to be the first of many stories that we hear about this. This is not the first one that's happened. This is the first one that has made national news.
Yes.
Her name is Brittany Watts. She had a miscarriage in the toilet after being sent home from the hospital multiple times, being told that she was going to have a miscarriage. She is being charged with abuse of a corpse.
Crazy.
The link in the comments is for the GoFundMe because this is insanity. This is what everyone was worried about when Roe was overturned. This is not, this is what we were scared of. This is one very good example of what we were scared of.
Yeah, this is
If
not
you're
an
not going to
abortion.
pay attention yet,
Yeah.
and no, this wasn't an abortion. This is a woman that had a miscarriage, and she's being punished for that.
Right.
That's what's happening here. And I had a miscarriage in the toilet. Charlie was, I don't know, 19 months old, whatever that is. And I was hurting, and I just didn't feel well. And I went to the bathroom, and there was just lots of clots, and I was like, oh, so this is okay. And I called my OBGYN because at the time, they were actually in Tennessee, and you could call your OBGYN and they would call you back. Um, and I said, this is what's happened. And they said, it sounds like you're having a miscarriage. Would you like to come to the office? We can confirm and just make sure that, your iron levels are okay, and check you out. And so they did, and they did confirm it. Now, here's the deal. I didn't know that I was pregnant. And most people that have miscarriages in the toilet don't know. They think it's either a really heavy period, because this is another thing that God kind of upped, is pregnancy is a science. It's not an exact science. It is a practice. And it just got more dangerous because doctors are limited on what they can do for mothers now. So the GoFundMe for Brittany Watts, the woman, she lost a wanted child, and
Yep.
now she is facing charges.
Yeah.
So
That's just
that's my second story.
And I think we should tag in some of the other stories that are currently going on. The woman in Texas who just had
Kate
to leave
Cox.
the state. Yep.
Mhm.
Kate Cox, who she was told that her child has a birth defect.
Trisomy 18, I believe is what it was called.
Yes.
Trisomy 18. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very likely to be stillborn. But even if not, going to die almost immediately afterwards. More than that, carrying it to term could kill the mother, and certainly jeopardize her ability to conceive again. So if you were pro-life, you would want her to have more babies. But she was banned from doing it, then got permission from the Supreme Court.
No, Circuit Court. It was a Texas Circuit Court. Yeah.
And then the Supreme Court said no. And so she now had to leave and go to
elsewhere.
Ohio.
No one knows.
All right. Yeah. So here's the thing. If you are out and about and you see Miss Cox anywhere, you did not see her.
No, you do not. Yeah. That's where we're at, because she very well could be facing charges when she gets back to Texas. The AG has proven multiple times now that he's willing to be cruel.
Yeah, fuck him.
Okay. Cruel and unusual punishment, that is okay for women.
Yep.
That is apparently okay. That is apparently also okay for providers. This is getting scary for healthcare workers.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, what's weird is OB was always something that it's usually the toughest people that go to OB, because it's either the best day of somebody's life or it's the worst day of someone's life. And you go into it knowing that there's every chance that things could go wrong. And you have to carry a lot of liability and malpractice insurance in order to be an OB. And now they have made it even worse. This is why OBs are leaving the rural areas, because they're not getting the support they need. They know that they're not going to be able to take care of these people, and they're leaving in droves. When you see someone say, oh, well, there's hospitals here. Yeah, there's hospitals. How many OBs are there? How many trauma centers are there? How many of these hospitals can handle these early babies that are going to be born to mothers that didn't want to have them?
Exactly.
We're not.
Yeah, and it used to be that doctors really just had to worry about the patient or the lawyer suing them for malpractice. Now these new laws are allowing people completely out of the loop, not even related to the patient in question, to go after medical professionals. And that's, just insane to me. But that's what they're codifying with these new laws, is that anybody can go after these doctors, not just the patient in question. Um, yeah, and Craig's right. It's going to end up falling on nurses to do a lot of stuff that OBGYNs that had to leave the state, they're going to take that over.
Well,
Well, we do have a place called The Farm here in Tennessee, and I'm a little curious where they're at right now because they have delivered babies naturally and helped women in a lot of situations for a lot of generations. So I would be very curious to reconnect with them now,
and
just to see where they're at.
it's interesting because one of the things about the original Roe versus Wade was predicated on a right to privacy, which
Yeah.
People have then said, well, there is no actual constitutional guarantee to a right to privacy.
Yeah.
That was part of the way that they undermined it. However, the Fourth Amendment does give you the right to be free of unreasonable search and seizure. And what we're talking about in these cases is the abortion police coming in to women who have had a miscarriage and saying, we need to inspect your vagina. We know that
Okay.
you were pregnant. You're not anymore. Open up. Here's our court order. And that is a Fourth Amendment violation in my book.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
A lot of states have laws against suicide, right? Can you imagine if men who were at risk were not getting their colon exam, their colonoscopy, and the police came around and said, sorry, you haven't had your colonoscopy. We know that your life is at stake. Open up. Of course, that wouldn't happen.
No, absolutely not.
No,
The whole point of HIPAA is that, you're supposed to be protected from these things. And so it's interesting. I wonder if the Supreme Court or the president could make an executive order going that way, saying that
That's
a
a HIPAA
woman's
violation.
right to privacy, to HIPAA, which is codified, right, would be protected by the Fourth Amendment. That would be very
Exactly,
interesting.
James.
Now,
Yeah.
part of the problem, of course, is that the way our medical system works, doctors are licensed by states and as such have to follow the state laws. And so, although the Supreme Court guarantees your rights against any government, including the state government, through a process known as incorporation, Bueller, anybody? Sorry. That element, I suspect that's going to be the way that they get around this. The way that
I hope so. But
Biden will be able to do it is to say that, we have an executive order that says that HIPAA protects women, protects privacy, and nobody has the right. Huh?
Yeah, it should protect providers as well.
It should protect providers as well, right? Nobody should be able to violate that thing and say it's a Fourth Amendment issue. Let them sue again, because it's a different question. And this court, as much as, people don't like a lot of the things that it's done, it has some people who are very strict constitutionalists and who might have ruled against Roe and really against Casey, right? On the principle that constitutionally it wasn't the greatest law. It didn't have the greatest strength in the Constitution behind it. But if you throw a Fourth Amendment thing in there, that's law that's really understood and has a lot of strength. And so make the argument that there is, in fact, a right to privacy. Here's hoping that's what happens in 2024.
Well, I don't have a strong faith in the court to actually uphold any Fourth Amendment protections, because they have been willing
Well,
to.
certainly
write
not
out
for
a lot of
women.
stuff. Yeah.
Certainly not for women. Come
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot of hope, but if Biden
I think
wants
it
to
would
go
be
down the
good
road,
strategy for the Democrats to try to do it in 2024. Good electoral strategy. Make
Yeah, I mean,
2024 about people's right to choose.
so speaking of 2024, my second story is the sheer number of this is my second one.
Lies.
Yes. So the sheer number of indictments that one Donald John Trump has faced over the year, he's up to high 90s, I think, lower high 90s, somewhere in that range. First American president to be indicted on criminal charges post presidency, and facing a number of court challenges, seeing co-conspirators getting indicted and having multi-million-dollar judgments brought against them, and some co-conspirators signing into plea agreements and things like that. 2024 should be an interesting year for Donald Trump, but yeah, the just not just the New York indictments under the Stormy Daniels stuff, but stuff that's related to January 6th, stuff that's related to the election fraud in Georgia, that he the trying to influence the electoral count there, the classified documents. I mean, there's just a variety of things that Donald Trump can get nailed for, but how long will it be before before the trials start? I know they're pushing for quick trials, but he's also trying to do legal wrangling to try and delay those as much as possible, at least past the 2024 election. I think his hope is that he'll win election and be able to squash pretty much everything. Although there are a couple of state charges that he may not
Georgia.
be able to.
Yeah.
Georgia and
I
New
mean,
York
first
as
of all,
well.
you want to talk about him getting nailed. He should go to Congress, room 216. That joke is never going to get old.
No. No,
Yeah, it's crazy because I think, almost all legal people that I've heard speak on it believe that he's going to be convicted on a lot of these.
Oh, yeah.
Now, the appeal process being what it is, I mean, first of all, try to never wish for the death of somebody else, but Donald Trump is pretty old. And although he isn't, I mean, for his age, he's got a tremendous amount of vitality for his age and his weight that he lies about. But he can certainly tie this up for a long time. He's got the resources to do that.
He does. I think that there's enough, at least within the legal community, pushback to try and push this forward. I think at least one of these trials goes all the way through before the election, whether it's criminal or financial penalties that he faces. That remains to be seen. But I do think that perhaps the first presidential debate will be Joe Biden visiting Trump in prison, and them having the debate between with the glass window between them and on the phone. And at the end of the debate, Donald Trump's putting his hand up on the window, wanting him to touch the window, and Biden just walks away. Cut to black.
I envision it more like the ending of Star Trek 3, where there's some sort of thing that requires Trump to have to go to the engine room to save the country. And he goes there and he puts it in, and then he comes up and he says, "The good needs of the many outweigh the needs of the one."
And then they fire him into a planet where he eventually comes back, which hopefully that doesn't happen. But
all right, maybe that shouldn't happen. All right, I take it back. I don't want to see it happy. I don't want to see him get the Star Trek ending.
There you go.
Maybe he can get the Scooby-Doo ending.
Maybe you can get the Dave ending and just get fired into the sun.
Nice. All right. Now you've done 3, Dave, even though you don't recognize it.
Which one did? What I did? I did the
Ocean Gate.
Yeah, Ocean Gate. That was my first one.
That was the second one.
No,
You started it. Who started it?
Dan was first in the rotation. I
You're
I
first.
talked about the senatorial staffer, but that's this week news. So
Oh, okay.
That's
well,
not top story of all time.
I thought that was
that's
That's
okay.
just
that's just
fucking in
fun.
Congress.
All right. All right. Well, in that case,
Somebody getting screwed in Congress. Big
All right.
story.
All right. So I think then my third story is going to be a Homer story.
Oh,
The greatest quarterback of all time retired. Tom Brady
Oh,
threw it all away to come back for one more season. When I say threw it all away, right? This is a guy who is incredibly successful, married to arguably the most famous supermodel in the world. They have a great relationship. And even though he makes a ton of money, she makes more money than he does. And yet he couldn't retire. He couldn't do the only thing that she asked him to do. He had to come back and play one more season. And it was, he left the league. He ended up leading the league in passing, but his team did not make the playoffs.
no, they did. They lost that first round against
Right.
the
You're
Cowboys.
right.
Yeah.
They made the playoffs, but he
Losing record, I think.
didn't go to the Super Bowl, which is too bad because in seasons in which Tom Brady started for his team and played more than 3 games for his team that season. So I'm not counting the season that he gets injured.
The knee blowout, yeah.
Right. And I'm not counting his rookie season where he doesn't play because Drew Bledsoe still started. If you take out those 2 seasons, 50% of the years, Tom Brady takes his team to the Super Bowl. He went to 9 Super Bowls in 18 years.
Couldn't beat the Giants.
Couldn't beat the Giants.
I have no idea why. No idea why, but yeah, they
well, Tom Coughlin's a good coach. All of those things, and honestly, I've been enjoying Eli Manning more and more watching the Manning cast. But I can't imagine a record like that ever being set again in any sort of sport, right? You can't find a pitcher who 50% of his years took his team to the World Series, even though, there's some rosters that like the Braves went on that run of however many.
Sorry, Craig.
Our commenters.
Do that, Craig. Go to 216. So, but that's my story. Tom Brady, the greatest competitor of all time. And the last thing I'll say about it is Tom wasn't a great quarterback, right? He didn't have phenomenal skills. He wasn't fast. He wasn't accurate. He wasn't big. He wasn't strong. I mean, he wasn't inaccurate, but he just wanted to win. And it's just a crazy ass story. And hopefully he won't ruin it all by going into politics, which is what a lot of people think that he is going to do. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a mixed bag of athletes going into politics. There have been successful ones. Jim Bunning was a senator for, repping a senator for years.
The guy from Buffalo.
Oh, Jack Kemp. Yeah, Jack Kemp was vice presidential candidate in '96. He was a longtime congressman.
Right.
Let's see.
Jesse Ventura.
Jesse Ventura, wrestling.
Governor of Minnesota. Gowdy.
Who's the guy here?
Trey Gowdy.
Trey Gowdy, yeah.
Who's the guy Republican here?
There's a NASCAR guy. I can't think of his name.
To you.
Oh, you're thinking of Heath Schuler, I think, AJ.
No,
that was North Carolina.
Oh,
yeah, he was Western North Carolina.
Aren't North Carolina and Tennessee the same state?
Pretty much, yeah.
No,
yeah.
No, I'm trying to remember the guy in Canada, the goaltender.
Theo Fleury.
Glenn Jacobs.
Glenn Jacobs, wrestler.
That's who I'm thinking of. Yes.
Oh, Glenn Jacobs.
Right.
Yeah.
No. He has also been the Republican mayor of Knox County, Tennessee since 2018. He's Republican through and through.
Yeah.
He's bought and paid
he runs
for.
as a Republican. Yeah.
I mean, I know he runs as a Republican. We hung out. He came to a bar in D.C. with Jeff Hewitt, and we hung out together.
He has been the worst.
Really? All right. You are closer to the matter than me. I will defer to your expert analysis.
Close, but still like 6 hours away because
No, we are.
Tennessee, dude. It's
Yeah,
just-
Tennessee's just long. Some people think West Virginia is Virginia. West Virginia, it should be best Virginia and then Virginia.
Brady was an also great.
Hmm.
But yeah, there was he was a longtime goaltender for the Montreal Canadiens in the 70s. Became a member of Parliament for a long time until the 2000s. And I'm drawing a blank on his name, but yeah, I mean, they're athletes that have gone into politics and been somewhat successful. I do think that a guy like Brady, who does kind of transcend a lot of things, will only do damage to that by picking a side.
Well, Mr. NBA, when I say Mr. NBA, the man whose silhouette is on the outline of the NBA logo,
Jerry West.
Bill Bradley.
No, Jerry West.
Bill
That's
Bradley.
Jerry West. Bill,
no,
Bill
Mommy
Bradley
and
was a
Daddy are
senator.
fighting.
Right.
But
That's
Jerry
Bill
West is
Bradley's. That's Bill Bradley's outline on the NBA logo. Who's the bigger sports fan? AJ, bet. Who do you think it is?
I'm going to go with Valente.
Smart choice. Yep, Jerry West. Jerry West, story of the
Wow.
NBA logo.
That's crazy.
What do I win?
1969.
Hi, Janice.
Hi, Janice. Happy end of the year. All right, so. Dan,
all right.
So where are we at? We did
I think I
Dan's
did
story.
3 stories. AJ should do a third story.
JJ's third
Yes,
story.
it's my third story. I put another link in the Facebook chat since I'm now back in the Facebook chat. That's fun. All right.
Don't tell
This
anybody.
one, I'm hopeful,
John Tesh
is going to be a story of comeuppance. I'm hoping it's going to be a story of
You can't say porn stuff on the show.
wrong area there, sir.
All right.
All right. Her name is Allie Phillips, and she is a woman out of Clarksville, Tennessee. She had a pregnancy that the infant also had the trisomy 18 gene, and was looking at the death of her infant or death of herself, fertility issues. This was a very wanted pregnancy. Allie Phillips has she's talked to the House of Representatives multiple times. She's gone and talked to so many of our elected leadership, and they will say wonderful things to her face and then turn around and vote against her every time. She had to travel to New York. By the time she got there, the baby had died in utero, to have the procedure that would save her life. She could not have her procedure here. So instead of I don't know, sitting down and shutting up, which is what, no offense, y'all, men seem to want us to do, she's like, no, I think I'm going to run for office. Actually, I think I'm mad. I think I'm mad, and I think I already have a daughter, and I want her to have choices, and I want her to have health care. And oh my gosh, y'all, she's running for office. She is running for District 75. That's like right outside of Nashville for anyone that's paying attention. The link in our comments is to donate to her campaign because I don't know, she's got a lot of power behind her. And there is a special on Hulu that she is a part of. And give me just a second, and I'll give you the name of it because I was Googling too much stuff. There's a special with her, and I believe it's like 17 other women concerning how Roe ending has changed their lives. And it's heart-wrenching, and absolutely everyone should watch it. And I'll put the link to that here in just a second if I can find it, okay?
Cool. All right. Let's see. My third, and you know what? I hope she wins. I hope she. My hope for you, especially, is that Tennessee has some kind of revival, because we can talk about the actual reaction we're seeing in a lot of states that have passed these, draconian abortion bans or tried to, and the response of not just Democrats, but Republicans, and not only Republican women, but Republican men have really come out against a lot of these measures because, these guys are, husbands and fathers and have daughters and wives, and they absolutely don't want to see their loved ones caught up in this crap. So this seems to be a massive election loser for Republicans. We'll see what the impact of these laws will be as we move into 2024. Maybe a little early for Tennessee, maybe a little early for places like West Virginia and some of the southern states, but I think we could start seeing inroads as people stop seeing Republicans as kind of these unstoppable machines in some of these states because of these unpopular positions that they're taking. So, all right. So
it's called On the Brink. I found it.
Okay.
On the Brink on Hulu.
On the Brink. All right.
Yeah.
Let's see. Story number 3. I'm actually going to lump 2 stories together because they are kind of related, but they're natural disaster stories. Somewhat kind of unnatural disaster stories. First off, in February, we had the East Palestine train derailment that poured massive amounts of chemicals into the air and the water of the local community in East Palestine, Ohio. And then the second was the burning of Lahaina in Hawaii in August. Just unfathomable amounts of death and destruction related to a fire that you would think in the year 2023 you wouldn't see. But both of these end up being just these massive natural disaster stories that killed a lot of people or disrupted a lot of people's lives in the case of East Palestine.
National disaster, but national disaster enhanced, made worse by government interference.
Government ineptitude.
Government ineptitude. I mean, in 1948, when the government split East Palestine, and I'm sorry, that's just a terrible joke.
That's it.
Sorry, I can't help it.
I was wondering if that was going to be one of your stories this year.
It
is one of the biggest stories of the year.
I tell you what the big story about it is the inability for people to talk about it.
Mm.
And that's what's interesting about it. Like, so I dropped out of the Fakertarians group. I was just tired of all the bullshit in there of people who don't want to hear any of the. Did you drop out of it too?
No, I'm still in there.
Oh,
I shared the show to the group too. So
good. Well, I mean, I didn't want to. I enjoyed being in there. And I see Hody on here, who I know is, I think involved in it as well. But there's a lot of not just pro-Palestine stuff, but just ignorance. Just flat out ignorance. When I try to explain to people that the reason why Israel occupies Gaza isn't because Israel invaded Gaza to occupy it. It happened during the 1967 war, the 6-day war, when Hody got kicked out. Well,
wow,
I left voluntarily.
Dang, dude.
But it happened during the 1967 war when Israel was at war. And, I will argue that, that Israel engaged in a preemptive strike. However, what happened was there's a piece of this place called the Straits of Tirana that the UN had guaranteed that Israel would have free access to it. And in 1967, Nasser said, the UN has to leave. They left. They said, okay, now we're closing the Straits of Tirana. And then they mobilized all of their armed forces. Israel had said for 9 years, if you close the Straits of Tirana, that's what we call a casus belli, a legitimate cause for war. So when they did that and they mobilized, Israel went to war, as they said they would. During that war, Israel occupied the entire Sinai Peninsula, including Gaza. They also, because Jordan and Syria attacked again, they also took the Golan Heights and the West Bank, which for people who don't know, the West Bank is the west bank of the River Jordan. When people talk about from the river to the sea, they're talking about from the River Jordan to wherever, to the
Mediterranean.
Mediterranean.
Yeah.
And most of you have some passing religious familiarity with the River Jordan, right? There's a Christian hymn. Look, was it? Looked over Jordan, and what did I see? That's the River Jordan that they're talking about in that song. But if you try to have a conversation and you say, you know, Israel didn't occupy that territory to occupy it, they occupied it because they were responding to being attacked. Nobody wants to have that conversation. They want to argue about the truth of it. Or right now, there's a simple conversation that, I'm trying to have with people where, because this is the state of things right now. Okay. Hamas says we should have a ceasefire for peaceful reasons. And Israel says, but wait, don't you want to kill us? And I said, yes, no, we definitely want to kill you. I said, well, but that's not a ceasefire. And I said, we want to kill you and we want you to cease firing at us. That is the state of the situation right now.
Yeah.
And if you try to have that form of a conversation, nobody's interested in talking about it.
I mean, that is probably the one of the biggest non-war involved in Israel and Palestine victims that we've seen is the ability for people to talk to one another about a difficult topic. This is a difficult topic.
Yep.
Passions are inflamed on both sides. And while the passions are inflamed, the chances for peace, the chances to eventually come to some kind of sensible solution are just not going to come because there's no way to talk about this. And then people in the United States doing dumb things like, marching up and down in Jewish neighborhoods or, fighting over posters, or that doesn't do a damn thing for what's going on in Israel and Palestine.
Right now, the Harvard Law Library is occupied by pro-Palestinian forces who refuse to let Jews in. Okay, other people are allowed to use the library, but not people with Jewish last names. Which
last name doesn't mean anything.
The last name doesn't mean anything, and I don't really want to play into the stereotype, but there are a lot of Jewish lawyers out there, and so it's insane. And so this idea that I've told this story before, or this joke, but I'm going to say it once more. This is famous wit walking down the streets in New York City, and he sees two women arguing. You know what? I'm going to change it. He sees two people arguing across an alley from two different buildings, and they're yelling at each other out their windows over the alley. And the wit says, they will never agree because they argue from different premises. That's where we are right now.
Yeah.
Is that so many people have different premises about what's happening that, to me, it seems like the only possible result right now is for people to do what they feel like they have to do to feel safe. Because that's the one unifying thing that people can understand is their own lives and their own safety. And
people from whatever perspective you're talking about, generally in a political perspective, when you get people to sit down and talk with one another, a lot of times they'll find that maybe they don't have exactly the same ideals and the ways of looking at things. But when it comes down to brass tacks of what they want to do for their lives and their families and things like that, their interests are very similar. They just may have a different premise of how to get to that whether it's safety, whether it's providing for their family, whether it's providing for their posterity. They're very similar outcomes that people want. It's
right.
Just how do we get there? And once you start talking to somebody, actually talking to them and face to face, taking out all that stupid shit.
The one thing I'll say on that, though, is that there's no point in having a face-to-face conversation with somebody who said, we are dedicated to killing you.
And it's not everybody there in Palestine that's dedicated to killing you. You're right. If there was a ceasefire right now, I'm sure the Gazans, the normal everyday Gazans, would go after Hamas, and they would probably rather be taken by Israel than the people in Gaza. After what they've done to Gaza,
Right.
by this stupid, absolutely dumbass war maneuver that they did on October 7th, absolutely stupid. Like what other thing would you expect for them to do in response to this?
Right.
The Palestinian people, I'm sure, if you had a ceasefire tomorrow, their first thing they would be doing is rooting out the Gazans, the Hamas sites that do this shit.
But I mean, part of the argument is it would be impossible, though, for the Gazans to do that unless Hamas were disarmed, because otherwise Hamas controls all the weapons. And,
Sure.
That's why there hasn't been an election since Hamas came to power.
Yeah.
And it's also worth pointing out that's why there aren't problems like this in the West Bank. And the West Bank has got its own set of problems and legitimate grievances. There are
Yes.
plenty of legitimate grievances. I am very much against settlements outside of Israel. I think
Yes.
it's a huge mistake. And I think most Jews around the world feel that way. And in fact, given the situation, right, who has moved more Jews out of Palestinian territory than the Israeli army? Nobody, right? The Israeli army took 70,000 Jews and forced them to leave Gaza after they had moved there, started settlement, stuff like that. And in fact, had to fight them, right?
Yeah.
The IDF had to fight Jews with guns and force them to leave Palestinian territory.
Yeah, absolutely. And
So, yeah.
I absolutely agree that the settlements issue is probably one of on the West Bank side, especially because they
Yep.
really haven't been able to reset up anything down in Gaza since they moved them out. But because that is an unnecessary antagonism of the Palestinian people by putting settlements in the choice lands, in the choice areas of the West Bank, forcing off people that have lived there. Again, it's kind of a re-insult to Palestinian peoples, whether you believe in the right to return or not. Again, it's if you force people off their land, they're going to be mad that they were forced off their land. We deal with that in the United States with the Native American population, that they're still angry that they've been forced off their land, and they're rightful to be angry that they're forced off their land. There isn't a great political solution to it.
The thing is that you're right. There's not a great political solution, but there is a political solution if people will let it happen. And we have several examples of this. The best example is Ireland. Okay. And, the kids today, you won't remember, but Ireland used to be bloody.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Western civilizations,
Bloody,
the English, the Provos, the
Bloody
IRA.
Sunday, bloody
Exactly.
Sunday.
If you listen to the U2 music, you know a little bit about that.
Yeah.
All of these terrible fights. And in the end, what happened was the IRA couldn't beat the UK. They just couldn't. They could engage in terrorist activities, but the British responded. And in many ways, there's a lot of similarity in that the British didn't invade Ireland. Okay. And eventually the IRA said, look, we're going to stop. We're going to stop the violence. We're going to put down our weapons. And here we are, one generation later, and Ireland is around the corner from reunification. The IRA is going to get everything they want. And in fact, at one point in time, and this is like 30 years ago, but Jesse Jackson had said, look, you bring me over there and I will lead the Palestinians and we will walk down the street proclaiming nonviolence, singing, "We shall overcome." And I guarantee you, America gets behind that. Okay. But as long as there's violence involved, there can't be any solution. And so and there's never going to be a solution while there's a statement that says we're going to kill everybody in Israel. That is our foreign policy. And I mean, it was just a month ago, right, that Hamas said they're going to do October 7th over and over and over again, right? Doubling down on this after they've been getting their asses kicked all over the
No,
place.
yeah, they don't. I mean, that's bluster. They don't have the force projection capabilities anymore to be able to do something like that. So, yeah, absolutely asinine. And yeah, I agree. If the Palestinians had and I'm sure that there are people who say, well, they tried the nonviolence and they were met with violence. If they did a nonviolent movement like Dr. King, I think Mahatma Gandhi, if I think that any response violent response to that will immediately. I mean, you're already seeing people turn against Israel just based off of what's going on with this war. If it turns to a nonviolent protest in the streets of Palestine, the West Bank, and they meet that with violence, then that really will turn even very partisan Israelis against.
Yeah,
the
I mean,
government.
as it is, right? Israel's pretty divided about what the actual solution should be.
Sure.
Certainly, Netanyahu is not a popular politician by any stretch of the
No.
imagination. Probably not going to win re-election in 2024. But when there's a unification, South Africa is an example too. And I don't agree. Some people argue that Israel is an apartheid state. I just don't think it's true because if you look at the most famous apartheid state of South Africa, Black people didn't serve in Congress. They weren't allowed to be police officers, etc. Arabs are a critical part of the Israeli economy. And there's all sorts of posters all over the place. Israel very much supports Arab feminism because they know that Arab feminism counters Islamic terrorism.
Yeah.
And so there are posters all over the place in Israel. I'm an Arab and I'm a woman and I'm a doctor because I live in Israel. I'm an Arab, I'm a woman, and I own a house and live by myself because I live in Israel. All these things that they can't do in, Islamist countries. And I want to differentiate Islamist countries from countries where Islam is a major religion. When you have a secular state, then you get laws like Saudi Arabia where women aren't allowed to inherit property or go anywhere unaccompanied by a man or stuff like that.
Yes.
But so it's not an apartheid system, but the world will demand real justice if you give it a chance. But nobody's going to be talking about real justice while people are at threat from losing their lives.
Yeah.
Because safety trumps everything.
I get you. So that took us away from my story, but I think it actually is. I mean, really, when you think about Israel, the war with Hamas has been the dominant story of these last 3 months at least, and will be probably well into 2024. But yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of stuff that's happened this year we didn't mention. Charles becoming the king finally, even though his mom died the year before. Took until May for him to become king. Coup in Niger, the rise of the Wagner Group influence in Sahel Africa,
the death of Prigozhin, the Russian Revolution, Russian Revolution 3.0.
Yeah, the fact that Prigozhin took the Wagner Group and marched to within 100 kilometers of Moscow, and quite likely could have gotten into central Moscow before, who knows what would have happened then. But and then him being shot down a couple months later, that was an absolutely interesting story. Women's World Cup. The head of the Spanish Soccer Federation afterwards, during the medal ceremony, grabs a player and kisses her on the lips.
Spain won.
After Spain won the Women's World Cup, he grabs a player, forcibly kisses her on the lips, and then it becomes this big brouhaha about, look, he forcibly touched someone that did not want to be touched that way, and it took a lot of effort to actually get him out of that position, but he finally did. I do believe he resigned. I know he was suspended.
Well,
Um,
and I mean, it was a great conversation to be had because it got to the point that because this wasn't a woman who was complaining and screaming and stuff like that, and he kissed her against her obvious physical objection, but she never consented.
yes,
She never consented, and
and then he lied about it.
probably, yeah, and then lied about it afterwards. But probably the best thing that came out of that is people understanding that consent is what we've talked about on the show, right?
Absolutely.
Fries. I can't remember what F stands for. Oh, full, right?
Yeah.
Full, revocable,
Informed.
explicit, and S. We'll have to look it up.
Yes.
But
And S. S is important.
right. But that idea is so foreign to, and I don't even want to say men, because a lot of times I see people, I mean, men are certainly guilty of this a lot, but I see people dealing with children in
Oh
a
yeah.
lot of ways where they could be teaching children to consent. And in fact, it's a really important thing. If you take a child to the doctor now, doctors will always say to the children, I'm going to do this to you now. I'm going to give you this thermometer. I'd like to put it in your mouth. Is that okay? I'm going to listen to your heart. Is that okay? And they are teaching children to expect that somebody has to ask you before they can touch you.
Yeah.
And
That's an awesome lesson.
it is. It's in many ways the most important lesson we can learn, because we talk about this too. I mean, one of the more controversial issues that you can still talk about with parents. And I want to be clear that, of the three hosts on the show, neither Dave nor I have ever had any children. And so we know shit about this, but I'm going to speak on it anyway. Like everything else. Spanking.
Just like a man.
He's
Exactly.
gonna mansplain it.
Spanking is not a good idea.
No.
The children learn two things primarily from spanking. One, it's okay to hit people sometimes to make them do what you want. Two, right, that I know.
Without consent.
Good point.
Without consent.
Yeah, exactly. And two, that it's good to be in charge. And that's really the only lesson the kids learn from spankings. And so when we teach kids that, right, we're teaching them this world where if you want to, you can hit somebody to make them do what you want. You don't have to ask for their consent. And that's terrible. So in many ways, the story that I'm probably most hopeful about is this guy, Ribales, being fired,
Ribales,
being banned from soccer for 3 years, that maybe some people are going to wake up and say, hey, you know what? Consent culture has to happen.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yes, I
All
will
right, y'all.
agree. I
Yeah.
will say with teaching your kids consent, also teach them the proper names of body parts, just in case.
Right.
Sure.
I learned that from Oprah.
Yep. That's good. Oprah's
Yeah.
good on issues like this.
Yeah, back in the day, Oprah taught me all kinds of shit.
All right.
All right, y'all. You ready for the news quiz?
That looks like the
Oh.
tornadoes.
Yeah. Oh,
It
before we
does.
move on fully though, let's note some notable deaths during the year. Sandra Day O'Connor just passed away, first female justice of the U.S. Supreme Court. Honestly, I
From
thought she had died
Arizona.
long ago. Yeah, I thought she had died long ago. I saw this like, wait a minute, didn't she die this year?
She was appointed by Reagan.
Yeah, Reagan in '81. So Bob Barker passed away, got closest to 100 without going over.
So Price is Wrong.
Yeah. A better death, Henry Kissinger died. Sinead O'Connor, very sad passing for her. We talked about Evgeny Prigozhin. And then Matthew Perry, we found out this week that his death was related to massive amounts of ketamine in his system, that enough to put him under. So, but he was actually under treatment, using ketamine as a treatment for something else. I think it was more of a
Anxiety and depression, but
yeah, anxiety.
it's a shot that you get, and it has like a certain half-life or whatever. It'd been a week and a half since he'd had a prescribed shot,
It's
so
a
yeah.
yeah, it was you know, I don't know. When somebody has substance abuse issues, perhaps maybe that is one of the only ways you can go and deal with those issues. But yeah, I don't know, giving him prescription drug that knocks him out like that.
Anesthetic.
Yeah, right, essentially a surgical anesthetic to
It's an anesthetic, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So all right, so it looks like
Just to say a couple other big deaths are
Mm.
Norman Lear.
yeah, he just
Yes,
passed away.
yes,
Yeah, people should go back and review some of his shows. He had a show on in the 70s where they talked about they're called Maud, where Maud decides to get an
yes,
abortion. And it's
yes.
unbelievable talk. The 70s, All in the Family.
The rape
Yeah,
conversation with
and All in the Family.
and all in the family, yeah,
Yeah,
where
that's amazing.
Edith Bunker's raped. That was groundbreaking
Yep,
breaking television.
yep. All these things,
Mhm.
you know, even until very recently. So he made this show called One Day at the Time, One Day at a Time,
Mm,
Bonnie Franklin and Mackenzie Phillips and Valerie
Mhm.
Bertinelli, who
Haunted Your Dreams.
still occupies an unreasonably large space in my mind. Um, but he made a remake of that very recently, well, within the last 10 years, with Rita Moreno. And holy crap, that was so good. And Rita Moreno is just amazing. I like everything that she did. Janice calling out Mary Hartman, Mary Hartman. Yeah, so Norman Lear, and then there was one other big celebrity. Jimmy Buffett.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
Jimmy Buffett.
yeah.
Yeah,
You like Jimmy Buffett? He was a big deal. So let's call him out.
yeah, absolutely. All right, so looks. Oh, that's the was that University of Pennsylvania head
Yep,
there.
yep. We know where that's
Um,
going.
yeah, we know where that's going. Tornadoes, and I don't know what the hell those little beads are. Is that candy? Is that crack? I
I'm
don't
assuming
know.
they're bath beads, bath salts.
Bath salts, yay!
You can get super high on
So
them.
it's a Florida
No,
man.
we're just kidding, kids. Do not do bath
Do
salts.
not do bath salts.
Like,
You'll eat
doesn't it
someone's
make you eat
face.
other people's faces?
Yes,
Yeah,
it makes you a cannibal.
it's okay to eat someone out, just not their face.
Whoa.
All right, question number one. Which world leader met with President Joe Biden at the White House this week? Chinese President Xi Jinping, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, or Canadian Prime Minister Justin Hot Pants Trudeau?
All right. I know the answer.
I know the answer to this one. Feel free, audience, to drop a comment with your guesses.
Yep.
Um,
And in fact,
Sherry is not here this week, at least not so far.
who's not?
Sherry Charlo.
Damn
She rocked it last week.
it. Sherry was on fire last week.
Naked Interstate Face Eaters. That's the name of my next band, I think.
Face.
Nice.
All right.
Yeah, I don't see anybody. But
Yeah, I think we can say it was exactly, Zelensky.
Volodymyr Zelensky always dressed casual. Dude owns a ton of muscle shirts. I'm just gonna say that. But yeah, he was in DC to request more money for the fight going into the spring. Seeing a lot of pushback from Senate and House Republicans on giving him more money. So
it's a fascinating thing to see what you can do when you're called upon. I used to remember when I was a special education teacher, a lot of times the parents would comment on the fact. So the students that I taught were classified as severe. Almost all of them were nonverbal. We focused a lot on ADLs, adult daily living skills, because the difference in your life, if you can go to the bathroom by yourself, if you're in permanent institutionalization, you have a much happier life. And so we focus on that for these kids. And, a lot of them were just incredibly difficult. It really takes a village. And at one point in time, people would express to the parents like, wow, I don't know how you do it. And they're like, we don't have a choice.
Yeah, you just
Exactly.
get up.
You're
Get up
called
every day.
upon us to do. And, Zelensky is a guy who, right, he was a comedian,
Yeah.
right? I mean, thrust into this position. Couldn't have done, I don't think he could have done a better job.
No, I don't think so either.
Yep.
Regardless of what you think about this whole situation, my hope is that he,
Yeah.
it's hard to say, give him a bunch of American money, but I great fighting against the greater evil in this situation with the Russians. So,
Right.
Janice already gets the question. She nails the University of Pennsylvania Ivy League school named a new president this week following the intense criticism from donors. It was the University of Pennsylvania. Liz
And
McGill remains on
right.
staff.
And to be clear, she made an incredibly terrible statement.
Yeah.
And this is, I mean, probably the worst thing about this is that I'm having to side with Elise Stefanik, who, is terrible. But Elise Stefanik said to her, she's like, would calling for genocide be considered hate speech? And she responded, it would depend on the context and whether or not somebody actually took some actions around that. She said, so you want them to actually commit genocide to before it becomes hate speech? And so that was pretty crazy.
Yeah, we talked about that last week, and I related the story of Rwanda and the fact that a simple plane being shot down, and it was the people who committed the genocide who actually shot the plane down with the president and the president of Burundi in it. Immediately after that, calls for attacking the Tutsis over the Radio Rwanda caused people to go in the streets with machetes and hack hundreds of thousands of Tutsis and cause a genocide. So words mean things. Yes, they can incite violence, and yes, that we've seen violence even in the United States regarding this issue. Not just Israelis getting and Jewish people getting attacked, but Palestinian people getting attacked on both sides. It's awful, and people have just got to stop this shit because you're not helping what's going on in the Middle East by one bit by doing any of this shit. So
no, in many ways, people are making it worse.
Absolutely. All right. Question number 3: which awards show announced its 2024 nominees this week? The Golden Globes, Academy Awards, Emmy Awards, or Grammy Awards?
I have no idea, but isn't the Golden Globes over? Right?
Well, no, Mariah Carey's still out there. Oh, different Golden Globes. I'm sorry about that.
That's pretty funny.
Also,
I think the Golden
Christmas
Globes ended their show because of the Academy, the Foreign Press, Hollywood Foreign Press being such a terrible organization. I don't think they're doing the Golden Globes anymore. So I think we can eliminate that one.
Yeah, I want to say it's the Academy.
That's what I think. James also says the Academy Awards. Let's go with it.
It was the Golden Globes. They're still around.
Wow.
Hard time finding someone to host.
Yeah.
This is true. 81st Golden Globes were announced Monday, but it appears the show's organizers are having a hard time finding someone to host. Wow.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, because they did have bad criticism the last few years, and
they went on a streak where they did have some really funny hosts, Ricky Gervais, and then Tina Fey and Amy Poehler.
Yeah.
But as it started to come out, just how anti-diversity the Golden Hollywood Foreign Press was, they're like, yeah, forget about it.
Yeah. So, James, I'm with you on that one.
This has got to be Taylor Swift.
All right, question. Which term was Google's most searched news trend in 2023? COVID-19, war in Israel and Gaza, Wordle, or Taylor Swift?
I think it's got to be Taylor Swift, but looking at the picture,
I know, it looks like an explosion.
it does look like an explosion. But war in Israel and Gaza is such a
It's fairly
big term.
recent, and it's fairly recent too.
Exactly.
I mean, like James says Taylor. We got
Everybody
Janice.
says Taylor. I agree.
Janice says
Because in
Taylor.
addition to the Eras tour, there's the movie, and then there's the whole
Travis
thing
Kelce.
with Travis Kelce. Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
oh my God! Wow, we completely
two
missed
in a
it.
row.
And the wow, DeMar Hamlin. That's pretty impressive.
Hmm.
All right. Well, now we know.
It is not pleasing. All right, question number 5.
This
Gonna
one I
pull this
know.
one out of the fire here. Which type of agreement was reached between dozens of countries this week? Immigration deal, tax deal, minimum wage deal, or climate deal? I know this one too.
You gave everybody a hint by saying pull it out of the fire.
That's
Inappropriate.
true.
All right. I think we just go and say it's the climate deal.
It is the climate deal, the COP 28,
Yep.
29, whatever. Yeah, agreed. Yeah, COP 28 summit in Dubai, which got off to a kind of a rough start because the head of it basically said that there's no reason to get rid of fossil fuels. It's going to be hard to get rid of fossil fuels because, I mean, you still need oil to lubricate things. So, I mean, yeah, you're never going to get rid of fossil fuels, but actually using them as fuel,
Right. I mean,
maybe.
silicon makes a good lubricant as well, but there is fossil
Those
fuels
KY.
are so energy dense that it's going to be a long time before they're replaced. And the that's very funny with the KY. It's
Going back to that story at the beginning of the night with the Senate staffer.
well, and you know, my big concern that you know, when I was executive director of the Libertarian Party, I always wondered why Kentucky didn't have a fundraiser selling KY jelly.
What?
Kentucky jelly.
Exactly.
Kentucky jelly.
What were we saying just before that? I don't know. I forgot it.
All right. Question number 6. Which toy will no longer be sold by Amazon, Target, Walmart due to safety concerns?
We've got a
Hoverboards.
context clue here.
Hoverboards, puzzles, water beads, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Building blocks. So I guess that was the water beads.
Janice and Heidi, you've got
Janice
it.
and Heidi got it. Way to go,
Yeah.
lady. Appreciate it. Because I had no idea what the hell that shit was when we saw the context clue. So water beads.
What are they used for?
Major retailers have voluntarily stopped selling water beads marketed for children. Water beads are tiny balls made out of extremely absorbent polymer material that can expand up to 100 times their size when exposed to liquid. Health experts say they can cause intestinal blockages if ingested.
So you
Oh,
like
yeah.
throw them in a pool and they go.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I guess.
I have mostly seen them in videos of people like filling their pools with them and jumping in and doing stuff like that.
Strange.
Interesting. All right. Well,
I
I mean,
It's
yeah.
2023. What's not strange?
I mean, honestly, I mean, that's kind of like throwing some chlorine in the gene pool, you know, if you're dumb enough to eat them.
Yep.
You know. I
I
mean, they do look like candy. I will say that. They also look like bath salts, so I probably would stay away from them. All right, question number 7. Which automaker recalled nearly 2 million vehicles this week? Tesla, Ford, Audi, or Kia? Kia.
Everybody's going to get this one because it
Uh,
was like big news in all the feeds,
I totally
except for
missed it.
Twitter. You missed
Oh.
this?
Yeah, because I
Then I gave
looking
it
at
a-
hockey
barely
news.
missed it too.
It's
But
yeah,
I'm
Janice has
guessing-
it. It's Tesla. Every single
Tesla.
Tesla ever made is being recalled.
Really?
Are you serious?
Recalling nearly all 2 million of its vehicles on U.S. roads for an important autopilot update. They couldn't push that over the Skynet.
It's interesting. I think that they can, but I think that there's some things that aren't allowed to be updated remotely, and so you have to have a special thing that you have to go in for to get it updated.
I have a
But-
special purpose.
But I tell you what, a lot of people are probably not going to do it because they don't want their autopilot crippled.
Hmm.
Ah,
So
okay.
see what happens.
But that, I mean, does that? I mean, I'm sure that you're going to find a lawyer who's willing to sue, but liability if you don't go in and get your.
Yeah, absolutely,
yeah, all
absolutely.
right.
If they issue a recall and you don't know about it, and they can show that they sent you a letter, and that, like, your
You-
car had a message saying you're overdue for a recall.
And you made a Facebook post like, I'm not doing that Tesla recall.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Question number 8. Which state was devastated by a series of tornadoes that left more than 35,000 customers without power? I am going to leave this one to AJ.
That state would be Tennessee.
Take me to another land.
And if
you
I
know-
was y'all, I would pay attention to the news about Tennessee over the next few weeks, because there are lots of homes that were destroyed and are now being investigated for not having proper foundation, like the house being connected to the foundation.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yes, they have found that some houses, there's even one that they took a picture of, that there is, you can see the tape and nails, not a single bolt to be seen.
Jesus.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there were 6 people that died.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
All right. Question number 9. According to early polling, which candidate appears to be the most likely Republican nominee in next year's presidential election?
Mm.
Former President Donald Trump, former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, or entrepreneur Vivek Ramaswamy. The dude can't figure out how to turn off his mic before going to the bathroom, so I don't think it's going to be Vivek.
It's Donald Trump.
How? Just
Sadly.
whatever the fuck.
Just goddamn. Yep. Despite a plethora of legal woes, the former president is the clear front runner because he's like 40 points ahead of everybody.
Yeah, it's crazy.
There's no runway. There really is no runway unless you get enough people to drop out of this race before New Hampshire that can coalesce behind someone else. But I think that there are enough candidates that are actually drawing some support away from Donald Trump that if they drop out, you're just going to see Donald Trump become stronger. So like Vivek, I think his support kind of lines up with Donald Trump. DeSantis, I think his support kind of lines up with Donald Trump.
Right.
They leave those candidates. They're going to go to Donald Trump. They're not going to.
The only candidate who's different is Nikki Haley, and
nobody's talking about Chris Christie, although he's been the guy that
Chris Christie, right? Chris Christie and Nikki Haley are the smart candidates. Republicans have demonstrated time and time again they don't like smart people. Exactly. So, those guys, they should run with a different party. I wonder, actually.
Well, they're not going to come to the LP.
No Labels is looking for people. So, I think we talked about this briefly last episode or 2 episodes that, I was approached by a group working with a certain Utah senator and West Virginia senator, talking about them running on the No Labels thing.
But why? They're both decrepitly old too.
Not only that. The argument is that those guys have somewhat of a national thing, but it's not clear that either of them could win their home state.
Well, I think
it's very clear that Manchin can't win his home state.
No, that's why he's leaving the Senate.
Right, exactly. So, but I think Nikki Haley could win her home state, maybe.
I don't think she's going to win the South Carolina primary, herself. So,
yeah, it's tough.
All right, question number 10: which pro sports league announced it will play a game in Brazil during the 2024 season? The NBA,
NHL?
NFL, MLB, or NHL?
It's going to be the Canadians against the Canucks in Brazil.
Look, they put an ice rink in Las Vegas in the summer. They can put an ice rink. Oh, we lost Dan for a second.
No, I'm still here. I just need to be off camera for a second, but I'm still listening.
All right. Yeah. So, but yeah, NFL makes the most sense. Heidi says NFL. James says soccer. Janice says NFL as well. They're probably, yes, the NHL does go overseas to play games in Europe, which makes sense because there are European leagues.
Yeah.
And the NFL has the largest footprint.
That looks like a diamond to me.
It could be a baseball. You could. Brazil
And
is
actually,
not a hotbed for baseball, though, either.
Brazil is a big basketball country, though.
It is,
They throw up all those bricks.
but there's
Thump,
green
thump,
there.
shh.
Yeah.
That's my worst joke of the evening.
There's it's green there, so it's definitely not hockey or basketball.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say I think it's NFL as well.
All right, let's go NFL. That's what Heidi says.
James says English football. Jana says NFL as well. So
yeah,
and that's it. They're going to play in Sao Paulo, Brazil.
Who's playing? Scroll up. I can't see. Oh, they don't say.
It doesn't say. Yeah, so they'll probably play at the Maracanã. One of their soccer castles there in
It's
Brazil.
in Sao Paulo.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they'll get a massive crowd for that.
oh yeah.
Yeah. But yeah. All right. So we got 8 out of 10. We pulled it from the fire after missing those 2 in a row very early in the quiz. We did pull it from the fire.
That one was entirely my fault.
I thought I'd heard that the Golden Globes were having problems, and they are clearly having problems getting hosts. So I was there with you.
It's an interesting thing. Maybe we should offer to host Political Deep Dive.
Oh God, no.
Globes.
No,
you don't think so, dude? I have got a gown, a gala dress that is phenomenal. Never.
There we go.
Anywhere. Well, so that's the thing about it is that you see a dress like that on sale. Okay, this is like a $5,000 dress. Picked it up for $450 at Nordstrom off rack, and great deals there. Never any place to wear it, because where do you wear something like that? I mean, church, but just kidding.
Sure.
The hell, man. All right, y'all. Well, it is about 11:45 now, and I appreciate everybody watching us. I wanted to close tonight on one of my favorite holiday songs. It's not particularly a Christian holiday song, but it's a holiday song nonetheless.
Thank goodness.
Is it Fairy Tale of New York?
It is not Fairy Tale of New York.
Because that guy died also this year.
Trying to find it on my there it is. So this is a group called Gangsta Grass. They're really awesome. They mix bluegrass and rap, and it's very interesting. It's a really good song called. Let me try and find the title to it here.
Let me ask you something. Are we coming back, or are we going out with this?
We are going out with this. I'll do the.
So we should say our goodbye things.
Yeah.
We're not doing a show next week. We're not doing another show till the new year, right?
That's right.
So in that case, let me say to everybody out there, my fervent wishes for all of us.
Yeah.
Peace on earth, goodwill towards men
and women,
and however you identify yourself. The world can be a better place if we do it. And to quote Bill Murray from Scrooged, if you do something that makes the world a better place, it's going to make you feel good. And chances are pretty good if you do it a couple times, you'll get addicted to that feeling. So find a way now, the season where it's easiest to do something that helps somebody else out, make the world a better place. Peace on earth, goodwill to men. You guys have any Christmas messages? I like AJ's.
Honestly, it's just
Happy New Year.
That's right. We've made it through. I mean, well, not quite, but we've almost made it through another year. Yeah. Further off from the stupidity of COVID and all that stuff. And my hope for the new year is that it's better than the last one. I hope it is your best yet, and hope that you all make the new year a great and positive experience.
Thank you to everybody who's been tuning in all year, guys. Yeah. We do this show. I mean, we do this show mainly because James has been paying us, but we really appreciate it.
Yeah,
we appreciate you being here and sharing your time with us. It's meaningful. So thanks for that.
So the song is called Chrisma Hana Kwanzaa Ramadana Mas Carbide. It's a conglomeration of many celebrations. Whatever you celebrate with your family and friends. Have a great new year, and we will see you all in the new year. And we'll take it from here.
Oh, happy Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Ramadan, Arbor Day. If you don't celebrate it, I'm gonna wish it to you anyway. And I know we're all just trying to do our thing, celebrate, and it's all great. So happy Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Ramadan, Arbor Day.
We celebrate for myriad of reasons, reverence and kinship, all over the seasons, meeting, keeping faith, whatever we believe in. Every precious moment, so imbued with meaning. Coquito and parandas, merriment and joy, from elders in each family to every girl and boy. Festive attire to lift up every voice. Hoist up a glass of your beverage of choice. Whatever it is you celebrate, we've got something for you. Every apparatus from Kanara to Menorah, everything's a part of it, from fauna to the flora. Shindig, chilling in my holiday fedora, building on the happy times we're hoping to have more of. Rejoice with the feast, warm tidings how we greet you. We got a full spread, vegetarians can eat too. Sending happy gifts of love and fellowship to each of you. Shorties playing peekaboo, learning why they teaching you to seek the youthful energy that's reaching through.
Oh, happy Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Ramadan, Arbor Day. If you don't celebrate it, I'm gonna wish it to you anyway. And I know we're all just trying to do our thing, to celebrate, and it's all great. So happy Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Ramadan, Arbor Day.
Gratitude and blessings for your essence, knowing that our presence is much more than a present. Heaven knows what we can do with coalescence. The feeling of our fellowship is something effervescent. Checking on your brethren, your kindred and your peeps, cause sharing peace and love could be the promise that we keep. 12 months out of the year, 7 days out of the week. So let's all celebrate and plant a seed for every tree.
Oh, happy Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Ramadan, Arbor Day. If you don't celebrate it, I'm gonna wish it to you anyway. And I know we're all just trying to do our thing, celebrate, and it's all great. So happy Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Ramadan, Arbor Day.
Happy Christmas, New Year, Kwanzaa, whatever you choose to celebrate. I hope you're with family and friends, and we will see you all in the new year. Have a good one, everybody. Say goodnight.
2024, guys. See you then.